get as well. So things like just feeling really fatigued all of the time. So just, again, when we train or if we've had a hard session, you expect to feel fatigued, but you should recover from that. So it's that fatigue not really going. Sometimes you can get not only sort of musculoskeletal injury, but you can get lots of coughs and colds and just generally feeling a bit run down. So you can pick up lots of little bugs and viruses. You can also find that performance suffers. So actually, although that young person is still training really hard and working really hard, when it comes to their performance on the pitch, they're maybe just not quite able, their speed might not be there, or they're just, their first touch isn't quite as good as it has been, and all these little things in terms of performance. And then we also can find that they can have decreased motivation for their sport. So that kind of mental aspect of it as well. So sometimes they're kind of not as motivated to go to training or to go to their matches. And we can also find that they can have changes in their sleep pattern. And as much as you would think that actually, if you're overtraining, you're exhausted, you are feeling more fatigued, you would think that actually you might be sleeping more, but often they will actually struggle with sleep. So they'll have quite disrupted sleep patterns. So they're not really getting that rest. They can have changes in appetite, in mood, sometimes weight changes. So there can be a link with obviously kind of low energy availability or relative energy deficiency. And then they can lose sort of concentration. So just that mental sharpness isn't always there. So that can come out in their performance on the pitch. But you might also see it in terms of their academic performance as well. So in school or college or whatever, you might see that there too.
It's so interesting as you were listing some of those signs. I think a lot of parents brush those off as, oh, they're just a teenager, they're moody, or they're just tired all the time, or their sleep is all over the place. It's just growing pains and being a teen. But it's interesting that those are some early signs of overtraining.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's also worth noting that it's a kind of continuum from sort of, you've got your overreaching, which is like a normal part of training. We want our athletes to overreach at points, but that should be part of a program of activity that we're then factoring in that rest, recovery, lighter days. But then if that overreaching, if we're not factoring in that rest and recovery, and we're demanding more of our body than it is capable of doing without factoring in that rest, then we can go into that overtraining signs and symptoms. And it's important, I think, to note as well that there's also a link with that kind of emotional or mental burnout too. So being in that kind of high pressure situation, feeling stress from different things. So it could be within your sport, but it could also be life. And that can cause that sort of mental and emotional burnout as well. So you can have the mental and emotional burnout symptoms, sort of mood, maybe anxiety, that low motivation. You can have that without any physical sign, or you can have the physical signs and still be actually very motivated for your sport. So it's a very big sort of spectrum of things. And I think it's really important that we look at that whole young athlete and really check in with them as a parent and as a coach, but check in with them, and as a parent, I think your young person better than anybody else. And I think it's important then that you just sort of go, oh, actually, yeah, they are really tired, or, they were asleep after school today. I'm going to check in with them and make sure that they're okay to go training tonight.